So everywhere I go and I see players gathering, world chat, alliance chat, I see them in whispers all the time. I see it in the Discord. I see it on the Facebook. And the question comes up over and over and over again. Is this general any good? And the answer is always, it depends, which isn't terribly helpful. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about generals and how to size them up to suit your place in the game. Stand by. Shut the door, I'm not heating the whole damn neighborhood. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Old Man Gamer Network. I'm Combat Carl, and today we're going to be talking about that shiny new general that you just got, and, well, now what? And I break it down into trying to answer two questions. What job openings do you have? And what can the general do to fill that job opening? And so I generally break down general roles into this kind of level. And these, if you're a little, this is kind of the order that I think you should be fulfilling those roles. And the first role is as a wall general, your city defense general. You can find that if you click on your city wall and you go over here to defense general, if you scroll down, you will see main city defense general. And this is the task that they are talking about. If you do not have a bubble, you are open to attack, and your main city defense general is going to be your first line of defense in trying to repel that attack. Now, let's keep in mind, most decent players, if they're three or more levels above you, they can bust through that. So what you're really trying to do is you're just trying to limit the amount of damage that they're going to do to you. The best defense is always to be bubbled. And so that is one of the very first generals that you should develop. And remember, the mediocre general that you have is always better than the perfect general that you don't have yet. So if you don't have a general that is specifically suited to the wall defense role, then put something in there. Don't leave it open. The second type of general that we're looking for is we're looking for a rally general. We're looking for a general that is going to go hunt monsters. And right now, the best monster hunting general that I've got is John Paul Jones. And he is a purple general. He is not pardon the pun, the gold standard for historic generals. He is a historic purple general, not a historic gold general, as in this soldier, this general down below him. But that's what I've got. And your monster killing general is usually going to be suited towards mounted or cavalry attack mode, because that is your overall best monster killing attack to use. The third kind of general that I think you need to fulfill the role for is a gathering general, because you can't do much if you don't have resources. Early on in the game, you'll probably get Princess Lucy. Later on in the game, I have just recently acquired Constance I to fulfill that role. And then you move on to sub-generals or subordinate city generals. Once you get to keep 11, you are able to utilize subordinate cities, and in order for those cities to be effective, you need to have a general of some ilk on that wall. You can fill them. Right now, two of my sub-cities just they have the mediocre general that I have. They have this person, and this person is just literally just a placeholder. I have two non-gold generals. I have Ching as the mayor of Scruffy 3, and then up here I have Arminius as the mayor of Scruffy 2, and then I have, and that's what I have. So that is the fourth role that I think you need to fulfill. The fifth role is, some people call them rally riders. I just call them leeches. And they are for riding along on a rally. If one of your alliance members is leading a rally against a monster, if you don't know, at this point, you can send one general and one troop to that rally, and you will get all of the experience and all of the rewards or the drops as if you had killed that monster yourself, and you are only risking losing one troop. And so I have, in the early stages, I have one general that is suited to just that task. And then you will also need to start filling in duty officer roles. I have a hospital officer that is currently being filled by Minamoto, and Ching at the moment is serving as my cavalry or my academy officer, and they will be shifted around as needs present themselves. So that's who I think, and again, we're all big boys and girls here. You can play your game different than I do, and depending on whether you're a farmer or depending on whether you are here to do PvP or whatever, different people play the game in different roles. People can be farmers because they just like farming, or people can be farmers because they're following, the advice that it's better to wait until keep level, fill in the number, 25, 28, 30 to even start doing the PvP route. So, the thing that you have to take away is that you need to figure out what your style is, and then you need to fulfill these roles in a way that will help you accomplish the goal that you have set out. So those are the general roles that I think you should fill up, especially again as a little. Get that wall general up there quickly. Get a rally general, a monster killing general quickly. Get a general, a gathering general quickly. Those three above all else are really going to help you grow in the game. And so now that you kind of know those roles, you got to define the purpose of a new general that you have. Some generals are suited for a variety of different tasks, and some generals are, for the most part, suited. They're one-trick ponies. They got one superpower, and that superpower it can be very limited in what they can do. So you have to figure out what that is, and the best way to do that, if you go over here to three dots and then you click on generals, this is going to give you the list of generals that you have. Up here it's going to tell you I currently have 13 of 44 allotted generals. Now we are strictly free to play on this account, and so growth is slow like a slow thing. So we pick a general up here and a general up there. We're not getting them in the $100 packs. It's kind of a trickle thing. So of these generals, again, I'm referring you to try to hold out for, especially if you're spending your hard-earned gold, hold out for at a minimum, a select few historic purple generals, and definitely a select few gold historic generals, because not every gold historic general is useful to your style of playing. I have passed up a number of historic gold generals because I don't have any need for those at the time. So how do we find out their superpower? Well, we look at this general, and if we click on them, we can go down here, and this first slot, you can't overwrite this slot, you can't change this slot. These other ones over here you can. You can change those. But this first one comes with this general. And so Wai Ching, he says, reduces enemy ground troops and mounted troops attack by 15%, which is called a debuff, which means it takes away. It is a subtractive skill. And he increases your mounted troops and ranged troop attack by 15%. That is called a buff. That is an additive skill. It is giving you more capability than you would normally have. And a lot of times your generals are going to put conditions on when those skills can be used. This one says when the general is leading the army. And that is either leading the army as in an attack, you are going to attack a monster, or you are going to attack another player. These skills also come into play if they are a subordinate city general. So if you are attacking or being attacked, then, and this general is sitting on a subordinate city, he is a mayor of a subordinate city, then he lends those skills to the troops in that subordinate city that you are utilizing in either that attack or defense. But that's getting kind of a little deep into some advanced tactics that right now we're just not kind of dealing with. So, but this is where you find out where I call it their superpower is. So if we go back and we go to Minamoto, he has the attack of the ranged troops that are led by the general, which means he's leading an army, increases by 25%. So that is a buff. And then if he brings a dragon, you get an additional 15% troop attack. So that's what's called a double buff. He has two additive properties that he brings to the fight. Let's scroll down to Queen Boudica. Click on her. Increase in-city troop and mounted troop HP by 15%. So that means troops that are in the city, not out doing something, and in-city mounted troops attack by 30% when the general is the main city defense general. And that means that these buffs or debuffs, as they're presented up here, are only in effect when they are fulfilling this role. So only when she is on the wall as the main city defense general are these buffs going to be in effect. Now, if you can send her to gather, you can send her to hunt monsters, you can send her to PvP, but you don't get this because she is not the main city defense general at that point. She is a gathering general or a monster attacking general. Or if you put her in another office, say the hospital officer, you will not get that. Same thing with a subordinate city. If you put her in a sub-city, you do not get this buff because that is not the main city. That is not the defense general role. So you have to be sure and read these, and you have to understand that there is sometimes some limiting language. So this is these buff or debuff when the general is leading the army. This is a second Y Ching. Now, if they are not purple or gold, they do not have a primary skill. They do not have a buff or a debuff that is always resident and cannot be overwritten in this first slot. So this is a blue or a teal or whatever you want to call it, general, and I can overwrite this. He's what I call a placeholder at the moment. The same thing with Natasha down here. She's a placeholder. I'm using because they're the mediocre general that I have, as opposed to the really good, buff or debuff general that I want to have. And then Cleopatra, same thing. Look in that first slot. It'll tell you, grants you a 20% double items drop rate from monsters when the general is leading the army. So she has to be taking the fight to someone, and that doesn't mean she's leading, a 250,000 troops. That just means that she's leading one troop. Well, that counts, and that's why I use her as what I call a Leech general, because she has a 20% drop rate, and there are ways that we can enhance that to some effect. So we look at our general, we look at what superpower they have, and then we look back at our roles and how can we use that general in a role that we have. Well, this obviously is my Leech general. If we're doing Vikings, I'm sending her on every Viking raid that I can get her on, because we have a 20% drop rate increase, and then that role will also determine how you cultivate them, which one of these skills you will cultivate. All of them, some of them, or maybe even none of them. It will determine what skills you add in, if any. It will determine what equipment you give to them. So my Cleopatra is a Leech, is my Leech general. So she starts out with, again, the 20% double drop rate, and I have, if we go up here, we are going to notice that with this elite spear, I do get an 18.8% mounted troop attack, which I want because I'm going to be attacking monsters with cavalry or mounted troops. She's also going to get there 20% faster than if she had this on. I also have 2 items in this set, which is denoted by this little medallion, that there's going to be an attack and a defense on monsters increase there. If I have 4 items, that increase goes up to 20%. That's with one piece of equipment. This piece of equipment, I get another mounted troop attack bonus. I don't use her to gather very frequently, but if I was going to, I would shoot her towards lumber, partially because she has a bonus there. Again, the ground and troop bonus, because it is part of a set. You could tell items are part of a set because of this little medallion that's on there. Now, even though this is the same color, this is not part of the set, but this has a troop load if I needed that. If I was going to gather, then that would come in handy, because that would mean that the troops could carry 10.5% more. This elite helmet gives me a food gathering speed boost, ground attack boost, which is not used for her primary role, but if I were going to use her to gather with, I could do that. Mounted troops defense doesn't really come into. We've done a little tiny bit of experimenting, and she has a couple of range attributes, a ground troop attribute, and a stone gathering attribute, which has nothing to do with her role, but it's just kind of, it is what it is. But she also has a fighter's ring, which is going to give us more XP for killing monsters, which as a leech she's going to do quite a bit of. It also adds another 10% onto our double item drop rate. Then we have also assigned her a spiritual beast. We have assigned the Bird of Hurricane to her, which gives us mounted troop attack, defense, and HP buffs, and also gives us another 5% double item drop rate. So as she is currently configured, I think we're at about 29.5% boosted double drop rate. So we're almost 1 out of every 3 would give us a really good chance. And if she is going on Viking raid after Viking raid after Viking raid, that can substantially help in the amount of gold that we get. And you may have heard this, gold is a big deal in this game. So let's look at another couple of generals that we've kind of got floating around here. This general you get early in the game. I used him early in the game, and I don't use him very much anymore. In fact, I could probably go ahead and dispose of him. I'm not going to, but if I did, I would get 11 runestone chests and 5 million gold, which could, it's kind of money in the bank. I guess it is. This is Constance. She is now my primary gatherer. I've just only recently gotten her, and this was a misclick, by the way. I know we've talked about, briefly talked about getting the skill books that you need for a general by figuring out first what those skills are that you need, and then concentrating on filling these 3 slots up with level 1 skills. And once you have what you want in there at level 1, then you can just fill them up, as you encounter them. So this is not I'm not following my advice. This is, don't play the game when you're really tired. But this is Constance. She is my gathering general, and her buff is after resource gathering brings back an extra 20% of resources from the world map resource spot, so not the Alliance resource spot. You get an extra 20% of what you bring back, and increases the troop load by 20%. So whatever troops you send along with her are going to carry an extra 20%. And that is what she starts out with. Now, if we go here let's go to Cultivate, because you have 4 skills that you can boost up. I know we've talked about all this, but you might be new to this channel, and you might be just kind of jumping in the middle here, and we don't want anybody to feel lost, because it's not just a beginner's episode. The whole channel is built on us littles, and how to maximize your time as a little. So you can increase these 4 statistics, and the role that you assign to this general determines whether you boost all of them or some of them, or in some cases none of them. So in this case, I know that there are better gathering generals out there. The Queen Jindioks are the way to go. They are literally the gold standard of gathering generals. But I don't have any Jindioks. Right now, I've got Princess Betty, and I have Constance. So Constance right now is going to be my new dedicated gathering general. And if I were to increase her leadership points, subordinate city training speed, I don't care. Troop HP, I don't care, because we're not battling. March speed, 2.3% increase, because generally I'm not trying to get to a resource in a hurry. So I'm probably not going to spend the gold or the diamonds to increase that. Attack, don't care. Troop defense, don't care. Politics, subordinate city construction speed, don't care. Subordinate city gold production speed, don't care because she's not going to be a sub-general. Troop death to wounded rate, don't care because we're not doing battle. Resource gathering speed, whoa, that's one we're really interested in. 23.2% as it stands. I've only done, as you can see, a very, very minimal amount because she's a new hire. She's kind of still in her probationary period. So because of the role that we want her to fill, and because she is probably only going to fill that role, I personally am only going to concentrate on this, boosting her politics score. Now, there are different schools of thought on how to cultivate generals, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but one of them seems to fall along the lines as if you are coining, if you are buying, purchasing the packs for either gems or gold or speed ups or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that, or we're just choosing not to do that. Those people will tend to say right from the get-go to go cultivating with gems. And you can do that, and that's fine. I don't have the gems to do that. You can see I've only got 4,000 gems, and that's because we had a really good weekend on doing some events. So it's a lot easier for me to get gold than it is for me to get gems. So what I would do in this instance is I would go here to gold, cultivate, and all I want to see is green in politics. I don't really care about these. Now, I will take this one, not because these are green, but because this one is green. And that one I don't want, only because politics is in the negative. That one I'll take. That one I'll take. That one I won't take. That one I'll take. And so, again, for me, I would continue on doing this until, in our instance, this green number here equals this. You know, you might get a point or two over, but when these two numbers are equal, then we would have to go back and we would have to get her a star. And if we do that, then that is going to increase these original stats, and it's going to open up a spread between these two. In fact, you know what? Let's do that. I generally don't do this, but I'm going to, just because, I like you guys. And I want you to see what I'm talking about. So if we go up here, we meet the requirements. We have the 800K in gold. We have the metals. Is that what they call them? Yeah. We have the metals, and she meets the requirement for a level. She has to be level 5. She is level 5. If I hit confirm, it's going to spend my money. It's going to give me a star. These stats go up. And if we go back to cultivate, our 136 has turned into 142. It's increased that spread. So what I will continue to do is increase this politics number that I can till it equals this. Then I will go back, I will add experience to get her to whatever the next level requirement is. In this case, she has to be level 10. She's not level 10 right now, so I would go back, and then whatever XP that I have down here, I could spend on her to get her to level 10, add another star. I would increase the spread. That's the way I do it. You can do it however you want to. I'm just telling you that's the way that I do it. Then the other thing that I would do for this general in this particular role, especially knowing that I am not going to utilize her in any other role, I have gone through the closet and pulled out whatever miscellaneous gear I have that will affect her as a gathering general. And so I've selected this Transcendent Spear mainly because if I pair it with another Transcendence piece of equipment, as again denoted by this little medallion up here, I get a gathering speed bonus of 8%. That is the reason that I have these two purple equipment items there. Now if we go down here, this Elite's armor, this gives me a lumber gathering speed bonus. Gives me a mounted troop attack, but it doesn't matter because I'm not using her to fight with. Same thing with the boots. The boots gives me two things. It gives me a troop load bonus of 10%, so whoever I send her with to a mine, they can carry 10% more. If I'm sending her to an ore mine, they're also going to bring back 5% more on top of whatever bonuses she has in that very first slot. The agility helmet, this has a food gathering boost. It's not much, but every little helps. And then if I had another piece of agility gear, then she would get another gathering speed bonus. Same thing over here. She has a siege machine attack bonus, nobody cares. A stone gathering speed bonus. And then again, the second piece, this Transcendence ring, gives us the gathering speed bonus of 0.8%. Now down here you can fill in these skills with whatever you like. But again, if you're tired, you might want to be careful about what you're clicking, or else you can screw this one up. Because if we go to skills, right now this is a level 2 lumber gatherer skill, which means she's going to gather lumber 25% faster than she normally would. Now, if I go over to development, so I can see what other skills I can put in there, I really don't really have a lot right now. I have a food gatherer that I could put in there. Here's the pickle. This is a level 2. If I put this in here, there's a really good chance it's going to overwrite that. So let's just put that there and see what happens. I got a 50% chance that it's going to overwrite that. Go ahead. And guess what? It did. It overwrote that. So now she has level 1 food gatherer, which is a 15% bonus that she didn't have, but she overwrote our lumber gatherer bonus. So let's see if we can get that in there and see. Now it overwrote that one again, and now I'm out of these. So now I'm going to have to do whatever it is I have to get more skill books at. And that's the danger, and that's why when you figure out what skills you want these generals to have, you take the time, and sometimes it takes a long time, and sometimes it takes a lot of these little skill books, and they're going to overwrite each other like this quite frequently. There are usually when I have figured something out on a general and I'm going to start putting skill books in here, I want to have 8, 9, 10 copies of each one of these, because sometimes it just gets that ugly and you just keep overwriting and overwriting and overwriting and you just want to scream. But that's, once you get those 3 in there, level 2, level 3, level 4 will automatically go into the proper slot, because the way that the code is written, you cannot have a duplicate. If you have a level 1 lumber gatherer, then it will automatically stick it in this slot, because you can't have 2 lumber gatherers. Okay, if that's not clear, let me know, and we'll talk about that more. So that is the general's role, how that role affects how we cultivate that general, how that role affects the equipment that we put on there. And then we're not even going to get into specialty because that happens at like level 25, and that's a whole different episode. So one of the things that I've done is I have saved up in these long months that that we've been doing other stuff, because life happens, and sometimes you have to prioritize what's important and what can be set off to the side. And remember, nobody cares how good a gamer you are if you're a crappy human being. So if you have the choice between gaming and becoming a better human, always pick being a better human, please. So what I've done is I've saved these generals up, and we're going to look at them. Some of them have come about from getting the monthly puzzle pieces. Like this month that we're filming this right now, Yufei is the current flavor of the month, and so in 2 more days we are going to be able to compose this general. And when that happens, that general will appear up here. I think at least one of these has come about from the general's chest, but most of them come from just puzzle pieces. Some have been the monthly, the flavor of the month. I'm pretty sure Jing was the flavor of the month. I'm sure Chao was a flavor of the month. So that's kind of where they come from. So we're gonna just go ahead and we're gonna click all of these and open all of these up. So that way it's a little easier for us to talk about them. I should probably put some cheesy elevator music in here. There we go. That's cheesy. All right, we've got some new generals, and you will run into this. And so now we're going to put into, action what we have just talked about. We have now acquired 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new generals. And if I can get this stupid antivirus ad off of my screen, there we go. So we've now got 5 historic gold generals, and we need to kind of figure out what to do with them. So we've talked about the roles that we have as littles early on. We've talked about the way to look at that general's superpower and see how or if that fits into our needs. So let's go through. We already talked a little bit about Queen Boudica as our defense general, and we also talked about Constance as our gathering general, and we kind of went over Cleopatra as our Leech general. So let's see where these are going to fit into the other needs that we have. Let's go down here and look at Shajar al-Durr. And if we click on her superpower, increases the resource production speed in the main city by 100%, and the food protected from troop upkeep by 200% when the general is the main city defense general. These buffs are limited to where she is, the main city defense general. If I put her as a sub, nothing happens. If I put her as a monster general, she doesn't get any of those bonuses. Her place is at the main city defense position, and you can fight me on this if you want to. She's not really a very good defense general for wartime. I cannot tell you the number of reports that I have seen during either server wars or during kill enemies event, and the report has Shajar al-Durr listed as the main city defense general. My thinking is that for the most part, those are unintentional bubble drops. The person thought they put a 3-day bubble on and they actually had a 1-day bubble on, or they had connection issues, or they made the decision to step away and be a better human being versus being a better gamer, and neglected to change their wall general during a time of war. She is a great general for especially if you are on a server that has an NAP, a NAP, non-aggression pact, between events, between server wars and kill event. If you can't attack other people, that's a great time to put her on the wall, because the resource production speed in the main city goes up by 100%, which means you're going to instantly make your resources from your farms out in the front wall twice as much. And the food protected from the troop upkeep, which is, and you can tell what that is in your warehouse, we'll look at that in a second, it doubles the amount of food that your hungry teenage soldiers are not going to eat if she is on the wall. So let's take her and we'll go see what they're talking about. So if we go to here, and we go to here, and we go to here, let's look here. In fact, let's take a screenshot of that. And this is our total food production as things are right now. Okay, and it's even going to lumber production, our stone production, and our ore production. That's going to tell us what those all are. Also, let's go up here to the warehouse and let's hit detail. If you scroll down, this is your resources protected from being pillaged. Food protected from troop upkeep, which means your hungry teenagers are going to eat everything up here in your top bar down to 1.2 million. Let's take a screenshot of that. Now let's go back and change our wall general. We can hit resign, and then we can select Shajar al-Durr. Now when we do that, let's go back up into the monarch corner, detail, back down to resources, and now look at our food production. Screenshot that so that we can compare the two. And now let's go back up to our warehouse, detail, and now food protected from troop upkeep, 1.2 million, which is the base, plus 200%. So that's what, 3 times what we could normally keep? So before, that was 1.5, and in the time it took us to take those couple of screenshots and jibber jab a little bit and come back, they've already taken it down from 1.5 to 1.4. Well, now they're not going to eat that because of that bonus. Fantastic wall general if you are not at war and if you are very good at keeping your bubble up. If your bubble drops and Shajar is your wall general, somebody's going to take you for everything that you got. So let's look at another general. Let's look at Jing. So his superpower, increase mounted troop attack by 35% when the general is leading the army. This is easy. That is going to become my new rally general, my new monster hunting general. Currently, what I have been slogging along with is John Paul Jones. Now, his superpower increases mounted troop attack by 20%. And I'm not a smart guy. I know that 20% is not as much as 35%. And that will be once we are like for like, because currently he is at level 21 and he is at 4 stars. And he is also decked out with a little bit of gear. This is like my one set of half decent armor. The General Spear, I got a light armor set, Champion's boots, Champion's helmet, Champion's leg armor, Fighter's ring. This is, and because crafting is slow. It's slow enough if you're a coiner. It's horrible if you're free to play. It just takes forever to do anything. But he has also got, now you'll be interested to see, I have an empty slot. I have a level 1 skill slot, mounted troop speed, which means he'll go a little bit faster. I've also got a level 4 mounted troop defense against monsters. And the reason this is like that is because I knew this guy's a limited engagement. I knew before too long something better is going to come down the block, and he is going to shift roles. He is probably destined to be the number 3 or the number 4 guy when we send troops out to gather at night now, because he has a split buff here. His other is that resources from the resource spots on the world map, meaning not the Alliance resource spot, gets a 15% bonus. And that's just intrinsic in his nature. So we can actually go in here and we can replace these skills with resource gathering skills or a troop load skills to allow the troops to carry more troops, because his role is going to shift, and that role is going to shift because we got this guy with his 35% mounted troop attack bonus right off the bat. So we found the general, we found out what his superpowers were, we looked at the roles that we have, and he, like for like, will be a better monster hunter than John Paul Jones. Let's look at a couple of others here real quick. Chao, you will notice on his superpower, reduces the enemy mounted troop attack by 20%, so that's a debuff, and increases your in-city ranged troop attack by 20%, so not when we send soldiers out from the city, but the soldiers that are left behind in reserve in the city when the general is the Archer Tower officer. So he is going to become our new Archer Tower officer. And let's see, do we even have an Archer Tower officer yet? And we don't. So if we scroll down here, this is going to tell us we have we have this facility high enough that we have unlocked the duty, but, boy, that sounds funny, we've unlocked the duty, but you'll notice we still have to get his attack and his defense to be high enough. And once we get his defense to 500 and his attack to 450, he gives us a 60% bonus in our Archer Tower attack stats. And that would come in pretty darn handy if your bubbles dropped, or let's say if you're doing the undead invasion. So that will be a pretty decent priority to fill that duty officer slot. Let's see, we got two more. Let's talk about Isabella. Isabella I. What is her superpower? Increases mounted troops and siege machines attack by 10%. It's a split buff. It increases the attack percentage on two different types of troops. When the general is leading the army to attack, so she's sending troops out to attack, and increases the march size by 10% when the general brings along the dragon Norway Ridge. So that's a pretty specific delimiting statement there. It will give you this second buff, but not only do you have to bring a dragon, but you have to bring this dragon, the Norway Ridge. Now, for me personally, right now, I don't have a use for her right now, because I'm not really doing anything where a 10% bonus in mounted troop attack combined with siege machine attack would be tremendously useful. And I certainly don't have a dragon, and I certainly don't have the specific Norway Ridge dragon. So we have two choices. Number one, we can just sit on it and just let it bake and see if that would come in handy later. Or you can go up and we could sell her back. We could dismiss her for 24 runestone chests and 20 million in gold. It doesn't cost me anything right now, because I'm only using 18 of 44 slots. My mind boggles at the thought of having 44 generals. So right now, we're just going to leave her. It's no harm, no foul. And then let's get Mansa Musa real quick. And what does he have? Reduces enemy troop attack by 10% when the general's leading the army. Okay, so there's a debuff if he is attacking or sitting on a sub. Increases subordinate city troop death to survival rate by 10% when general is the mayor. So if he is a sub-city mayor, then you could conceivably get both of these bonuses. What we're going to do is we are going to remove Natasha from being the mayor of Scruffy 1. And then we are going to dismiss her. Does she have any gear on? She doesn't have any gear on. She only had one skill book on her, gold production, just because, we're just screwing around. So we're going to go ahead. I don't even know if we're going to get anything out. See, we'll get 5,000 gold out of her. So, we're not missing a lot out of her. So now we can go back here. We can go to subordinate city. The little red dot tells us, hey, something's up. I got no mayor appointed, a Scruffy 1. So we are going to go ahead and select Mansa Musa as our general. So now we have a historic mayor in this sub city. So the troop production is gonna pick up in here. So that's the way I do it. Again, this game, you can do it however you want to do it. If you want to be a farmer, be a farmer. If you want to be the terror of the server, be the terror of the server. Make sure it's fun, because if it's not fun, well, what's the point? Suppose I could heal that one guy, couldn't I? And so when you get a new general, you look at the roles that you have and how that general can fit into that role, and because of that role, how will you equip them? How will you add skill books to them? How will you, cultivate them? How will you increase their stats? Do you do them all across the board, or do you just pick a specific one? That's up to you. It's your game. You can do with it whatever you want to do with it. I'm just showing you what I've learned. If you have a different way that you really latch onto, let us know. Because information can sometimes be hard to come by on this game, especially if you're little. If you want to figure out, a strategy guide for, what's the best way to kill, a keep 33 player, it's fairly easy to find out stuff like that. What's the best way to kill, a boss 15. You can find information like that fairly well. It's difficult to find information if you're like keep level 6 and you're not exactly sure. I just got this general and I don't know what to do with it, so I'm just going to pile these skill books in and just no. That's what we're here for. We're here to help the little guy like us and try to figure it out. So got questions or comments, put them in the comment section down beneath the sermon notes. And remember, if you have the choice between being a really good gamer or being a really good human being, always pick being a better human being. I'm Combat Carl for the Old Man Gamer Network. You guys have a great weekend. Cheers. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. Be sure to tap that thumbs up button if you think we've earned it. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and that little bell to be notified when new content comes out. Be sure to check out these other videos. And I'm Combat Carl for Old Man Gamer Network. You guys be sure to go straight home. No screwing around.